Hey, and welcome to another episode of The Captioned Life, a podcast about how comics and pop culture impact life and society and vice versa. Coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas, I'm Kevin.
And from Indiana, I am Sean. Before we get started with this episode, please hit that subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on, and follow us on social media under the username @Captioned Life. You can also find out more information and past episodes at thecaptionedlife.com.
All right. Hey, Sean, I don't know if you know this, but I think it was June 3 years ago, or two years ago? 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When did we start this podcast?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Oh my gosh.
It was before the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We had us a nice little run before the pandemic, but we were doing Zoom calls before Zoom calls were cool. Okay.
Yeah.
But this does mark the start of year 4 for Sean and I. And I feel like the little podcast that could, because we've grown over time, little bit by little, and we keep getting some really, really fantastic guests. And today is no different. We've got a great show lined up for you. We are joined by Miss Heather Antos. She's an award-winning comic book editor and writer, most known for her work at Marvel's Star Wars and Deadpool lines, as well as one of the co-creators of Gwenpool. Now you can find her editing various titles at Image Comics, IDW, and more. Welcome to the show, Heather.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys, and congratulations. 4 years. That's huge. You're a toddler.
Yes, right. Yeah,
it's in podcast years, we're like 75.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and when we first started, we just did this like randomly whenever we could. And last year we decided that we wanted to be more consistent. So we're just happy that we've been able to consistently put out episodes, as opposed to we'll do one in March, and then 3 months later we put a random one out that had nothing to do with what we talked about before. So yeah,
and we've remained friends the whole time.
Yes.
That's important. That's hard. That's the toughest part, right? I there's a lot of the major podcasts that I listen to where the co-hosts are like, yeah, so we're in couples therapy. Like
that's the way I feel. Like there's like those TikToks are like relationships. There are two types of people in relationships. There's a crazy person, and then
mm-hmm.
there's always this great audio, and it's most of the time there's Sean and I fit into one of those categories. So
I love it.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good balance. So yeah, definitely. Well, Heather, thanks for joining us today. And with all of our guests that come on the show, we always like to start off by asking them the same question. And that's always, what is your comic book origin story? Was there someone or something that introduced you to comics? And what made you a comic book fan?
Yeah, I don't know if there is ever any one thing. My mom likes to say that I made my own comics before I knew what comics were. I was an avid artist and writer as a kid, and was constantly drawing and illustrating my own stories. We didn't really have a local comic shop or anything like that where I grew up. I grew up in a really small Midwestern town, as I like to say, where when you were bored, you went to Walmart to see who was hanging out there.
That sounds like the small Texas town that I grew up in.
Yeah. So I had the Sunday newspaper strips. My brothers and I we would fight over those. But it wasn't until I was in college when I took an American literature course where we had a segment that was on comics specifically, and that's when I got introduced to comics as literature and as an art form, aside from growing up with Batman the animated series and all the television shows and movies that we all did. So kind of a little backwards journey into comics. But once I started reading them, the Sandman was one of the first series that I read in my class, and to see what Neil Gaiman and the group of artists they work with, what they were able to accomplish, the levels of narrative storytelling and how, full circle and the art and everything, it was just really, really captivating to me. In particular, it's volume 2, issue 6, which is 24-Hour Diner, which is one of the most messed up comic issues of all time. But it's a very it's a culmination of a lot of things that came before, and really impacted, like, oh, you can do this. Like, this is like, TV without a budget done well. And so like, that was kind of when I was like, oh, I want to do this. I want to be a part of this, and really dove in.
Yeah. What's funny is I just read Sandman for the first time last year, and I completely agree. I wish I read that a lot sooner because it's such a great story. And what I find fascinating about it is that it's definitely a story that was molded around, its time, because there's a lot of cultural references in there, but I think it says something that stands the test of time, that it keeps getting updated, and they're still putting out that story in a lot of different forms. And Netflix is coming out with a series on it because it's such a great and captivating story. And I'm not surprised that that's one of the comics that really encapsulated you, because I remember reading it, I was just like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew about this sooner and read this like years ago, because it's such a great story. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's exactly how I felt about the Sandman too.
Yeah. I mean, it is as good as they say, right? It's one of those where you're like, oh man, it's overrated. I don't know. Like, is it, has it been ruined for me because people have hyped it up for so long? And like, no, like, that's one of the ones where like, it is that good. Like, it is actually that good.
Yes.
I'm going to be that one guy at the water cooler that stands around and nods and smiles. It's like, yeah, it's totally right. I've never read it.
What is it?
Check it out. Yeah.
It's on my to-do list. Heather, your career has been quite impressive already. You were an assistant editor at Marvel, and you helped launch the Star Wars series back in 2015, which sold over 1 million copies. You were the first woman editor-in-chief in esports for Unicorn, overseeing over 1 million hits in the first month, which was a first for the company. And now you're a senior editor at IDW Publishing, where you're responsible for the Star Trek series and other original works. And your career so far, what is one of the things that you're most proudest of? What's your proudest accomplishment or a highlight for you?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think the proudest moment for me that I've ever had, I was in Indiana, actually, at Con in 2019.
I was there.
I was there too. I had a table.
God. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I was drawing all weekend. It was a crazy time.
That was my first Comic-Con, by the way. I've never been to a Comic-Con. Yes, and I didn't know that Indiana had one. And so that was my first one. I had no idea what to expect or what to experience. So that's so funny that we were there at the same time.
Yeah, cool. I was there. But so it was while I was there that like I had these like gotta be late 30s, early 40s, like multiple men coming up to my table and just like thanking me for creating Gwenpool and giving a character that they could bond over with their daughters. Like that, like that's why I'm in comics, is to create stories that like connect with people. And like every single time, someone reads something I work with, and Gwenpool is that character that I think has touched like a lot of people in a very special way, where people feel seen and in a way that they haven't with another character before. Or a big part of my career has been creating stories that I would have wanted to read when I was growing up. And that's where like characters like Gwenpool, Dr. Aphra, and stories like that come in. Is comics are for everyone, and they should be for everyone. And so getting like these grown-ass dudes who are like, oh my God, thank you for creating this story about like this 16-year-old girl. I love her. She's great because I can share it with my daughter. Like that is so cool. That is so cool to me. And getting to see, like little girls dressed as Gwenpool or Dr. Aphra, or like anything like that. Like that, it's just, that's so cool to like be a part of something that's so much bigger than ourselves.
I have a 6-year-old who, she's into superheroes a little bit, but especially when we go to Comic-Cons and she gets to cosplay and stuff, then she's really into them. But we're doing some stuff this weekend at Fan Expo in Dallas, and that's one of the things that I most like seeing is the way that stories that you love, characters that you love, get passed on to like the next generation. And I think unnecessarily, and we've had guests on the podcast before, and we've talked about this, that like there's half of the, or maybe not half, but there's a portion of the fan area that that is critical of wokeism, or saying that we're trying too hard to shoehorn these ideas into like the characters and whatnot. But to touch on what you were talking about how you're seeing, like providing characters for readers that they see themselves in those characters, like that's just a good business model that helps you grow your readership. And it should be something that, like, we're responsible for creating a product that we want people to listen to. Why would we create something that only one small portion of the listenership would enjoy? Like, why would we not try to branch out and make sure that there was something for everybody? And I'll give you kudos for making sure that there is a space for like continuing to grow characters like that.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. It's like, why, if I'm going to start a bakery, why am I only making chocolate chip cookies, right? Like,
Right.
There are some people who are allergic to chocolate. There are some people who just don't like it, and just because I'm also making cupcakes and, pastries doesn't mean there's not chocolate chip cookies still there. So, and so like, that's I think what is so exciting. And also what is just so exciting about comics now is that, you go to your comic shop and there's like 250 new comics every month. Like, that's insane. That is like, and it's probably more than that, right? Like, but that's insane. That is so crazy, because it wasn't that long ago where you had 2 publishers and that was it. You only had superhero comics and that was it. That was all you got. And so like now we're at a time where like there are literally 5 different Spider-Man comics coming out a month. There are literally, how many Batmans, how many, whatever. Like,
it's like Oprah standing there. You get a Spider-Man, you get a Spider-Man,
truly,
you get a Batman, you get a hero.
It's truly, it's insane. It's so cool to see. But in an overwhelming way. Like, there was a time, don't do this anymore, but there was a time where I tried to read every single Marvel and DC comic that came out. And like, I was reading legit like 5 to 10 comics every single day outside of work, and it was exhausting and I totally burnt myself out. But
I'm sure, yeah,
because there's so many.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
there
and
are
that's
so many.
Yeah. Well,
one of the things. Sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, I just got back into reading comics after, I've stopped reading them, I think, when I got into high school. So about 5 years ago, I started reading it again using Marvel Unlimited. And I love it. And I'm glad I got back into it. But I also feel like you, Heather, where I get so overwhelmed with the amount of content that's coming out, which is great, because just like what you said, it seems like when you're looking through it, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out that appeals to a wider range of people than what we had before. But I'm somebody that I just want to read all that stuff, and I just get overwhelmed with trying to do that. So I applaud you for doing that. And I know that if I tried doing that, I would just, probably cry by the end of the day and be like, I love this, but this is too much. I
mean, I hit a point where like I just stopped reading floppies for like a good couple months, because I just needed, I needed the mental mental break. and
see, one of the things I wanted to touch on was that the stuff that we were talking about like, the 5 different Spider-Man and things like that. I think that's one of the ways that the big publishers avoid like cannibalizing themselves, because there are so many different things for their readers to read. By overproducing, you're not like, well, we make this book, people are going to be like, okay, well, I have to choose between Spider-Man and excellent Spider-Man and amazing Spider-Man, and like, what do I do? But there's something out there that like hits it for everybody. And then when you were talking about your analogy with a baker, one of the things that I have to like talk about with my 13-year-old and the content that he consumes is that just because you don't like it doesn't make it bad.
Right.
And like he's like, oh well, you know, he's 13, so like everything is, oh, this sucks. Well, like, no, just because you didn't like it like doesn't mean that it's not good. Because you know, you can find people who will defend the worst stuff because like it appeals to them. We talk about Batman and Robin, the movie, a lot here recently.
I love Batman and Robin.
See, really?
Yeah. That was my first Batman. Like, that's the first like Batman I remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like for me, like I love it. It's you know, I acknowledge it's not a great movie, but it's fun and nostalgic. But that's also like, it's how I feel about Attack of the Clones. Like,
yeah,
is that a good movie? No. Is it creepy? Yes. Do I love it because I was like literally 9 when it came out? Absolutely. Like,
and I think that's great that like even I just say one thing and we boom, like it's a hot button thing. But like for like my child, he loves Spider-Man 3. And I'm like, you're going to lose your credibility in the nerd world if you keep saying how great Spider-Man 3 is. Like, I want people to take you serious. I gotta give him a hard time for it, but he feels the same way about it as you. Like I would imagine now, like as he has refined his taste, he understands that it's not a great movie, but he loves it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, literally my job as an editor is to do a lot of critical thinking when it comes to story, right? And it's a lot of my job is asking why does this exist? Why is this here? What is the justification? What is the intention? What is the motivation? And you know, I think a lot of my nerd friends get frustrated having conversations with me on stuff because they want to just like, oh, it sucks and it's bad. And I'll be like, well, why is it bad? Like what makes it bad to you? Like I genuinely want to know. And a lot of times it's I didn't like it, you know, like, oh, well, the writing sucked. Oh, well, what about the writing sucked? Well, because, you know, like, I didn't think that this should happen. Well, why not? You know, let's really break down and get to the root of, root of the problem. Right. And a lot of times it is just, you know, it wasn't what I wanted to happen, or it wasn't what I expected to happen. And so because it wasn't what I expected to happen, that makes me wrong and I feel stupid, and therefore I can't be stupid or wrong. It must be bad.
I think you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's been a lot of discussions about that as well, too, is with people's expectations and getting, you know, upset that, you know, something didn't happen in the show and they were really expecting that, even though there was like no reason for them to expect it other than they, you know, self-projected that whole idea. So yeah, I think that's, you know, that's something that's just happening in fandoms a lot lately. So so Heather, we talked about Gwenpool, and you know, you've helped develop a number of well-known characters in comics in your career, and one of them is, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, so tell me if I pronounce it right or not, but Black Chrysanthemum?
Close, Black Chrysanthemum.
Black Chrysanthemum. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So you helped develop Black Chrysanthemum, and recently this character was introduced in the Star Wars Cinematic Universe in the Book of Boba Fett. So I was wondering, what was it like seeing a brand new character that you helped create being shown on the big screen in the world of Star Wars?
Oh my goodness. It was like crazy. I don't even know, because like I had no idea what was happening. You know, there is a bunch of the characters, you know, we know they're going to show up eventually somewhere. You know, we're going to see 000 and BT somewhere at some point. We know, like Dr. Aphra, she's all over games and she's going to appear in something that's like, we know, but we just don't know what or when or how. Right.
You mean they don't send you an email, just a heads up, Heather, we're going to use
No, they don't. But I do wake up to all of my friends in England with like texts. Have you watched it yet? So, but yeah, so, it was crazy. It was, I don't know how to fully explain like how it feels. And like, he was such a small part of that show. And, I was such a small part of him, coming to be, but like to still see like one of my babies, like in a live action show and pronounced, that's his name. And like his costume was down, like they got it. It was it. And it was Kerry Jones, like he like got it. And like listening to his interview at Celebration, he's like, no, I studied the comics and I studied his poses and I wanted to give the readers like everything, like just like I cried. I like teared up. I was having like such a hard time emotionally processing it that day, to the point where I'm like, man, if Dr. Afra ever shows up in anything, I need to take like a week off, because I don't think I think, or Gwen, like if she ever shows up, like I'm going to be catatonic. Like I'm not going to be able to like handle it.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't think you'd get a phone call from Feige and he'd be like, hey, we're going to use Gwenpool.
I expect a handwritten note.
Yeah. The person that I would imagine that at some point there's going to be a character like they say, they're going to say, look, this is a motion caption character. This is what we're going to have you doing. And this is who you're playing. And then when they see themselves on screen,
they have no idea.
It's like, wait a second. I thought you said I was playing this person, and it's somebody completely different.
Well, I mean, it's like, what was it in Multiverse of Madness when they had the scene with the Illuminati? Like it was like Elizabeth Olsen literally had no clue who she was killing or seeing in that scene. Like she had no idea. And so, there was that Vanity Fair video that came out where they show her a picture of John Krasinski, and she's just like, I've never met that man in my life. And everyone's like, but Doctor Strange. And it's like, no, she literally didn't. They were not on set the same day. Like,
right.
The magic of filmmaking.
I know.
Oh yeah.
Like Sean was saying about Black Chrysanthemum and Gwenpool, but some of the other things that you worked on, especially with the Star Wars universe and now with Star Trek, you've been the steward of some fairly classic characters, and you get to play in a well-established sandbox. That being said, not everyone is going to love what you do. How do you combat the toxic and negative corners of fandom? And what advice would you give to somebody wanting to pursue a career in comics and in dealing with that, especially in our social media age?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you work on. People are assholes and they're going to be dicks on the internet. Like that's just,
that sounds like a great name for a podcast.
Dicks on the internet.
Dicks on the internet.
I'm sure it exists. Yeah, like we've reached this point, and I just like, I was talking about this online last week. We've reached this point where, it's cool to be an asshole, right? And like, that's kind of always been the case, but like now we've monetized being assholes on the internet. And a lot of these people are, well, I'm just joking and it's just all in good fun and whatever, except the other half of that joke isn't in on it. And so, I say like, don't accept criticism from anyone you would never go to for advice. I think that's like a pretty general rule I live by. Like, why am I accepting this from someone that like literally is a picture of a monkey, that goes by all Roman numerals on the internet? Like, I know, like, why, who are you? Like, why should I take that?
Yeah, Dirty Dave 718
Yeah. And look, it's easier said than done, right? Because a lot of times, like, we as creators have these insecurities and we put our stuff out there because we want people to like it and we want people to connect with it. And our creations are an extension of ourselves. So it can be very, very difficult to, especially when starting out, not take things close to home. And so, it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Like, don't read the comments. Like, one of the best choices I ever did very early on in my career is I deleted all push notifications from my phone. I don't get any Twitter notifications, Facebook, Instagram, like any social media. I don't get any notifications to my phone, because that way I know that when I click on the app and to open the app, like, I am making an active choice to look at whatever's on there. That is me, like, giving myself, taking back some sort of control in that, and I also, like, I ain't got time for that. If I see shit, if you're starting shit, gone, you're done. Bye, blocked, muted, whatever it is, I don't care. Like, and like, you just, you got to kind of build that thick skin, and also that attitude of, like, not everyone's going to like you, but know that you're a badass anyway. So it doesn't matter. And that's, like, I don't have, life's too short for all this negative bullshit. So you don't get to be a part of it, is kind of my attitude.
No, that's great. It's great advice. I will say that, that I think that's spot on, especially like the part about, like, don't accept criticism from somebody you wouldn't go to for advice, because, like, in the role that that I play in my day job, I'm in a bit of a leadership role, and people have been critical, and sometimes anonymously have been critical of the way that I do things. And my first thought is always, like, do you want to do it? Like, this thing that nobody in our environment wants to do. Like, would you like to take the responsibility for it? And, like, it took about 2 years. I've finally gotten to the point where, like, I've just, like I said, like, I know I'm a badass. So, like, I don't have to accept this.
So switching gears a little bit, so currently for IDW and Image Comics, you have a couple of series that you're working on that you're very excited about. One of them is Crashing #1 that goes on sale September, but people can solicit requests now. And Rogues Gallery #1 goes on sale in July. And we want to know, can you tell us a little bit more about what these series are about, and anything interesting or anything behind the scenes or making about them that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So kind of segueing from our previous conversation, I'll talk about Rogues Gallery first. Rogues Gallery, which is on sale. God, what's the 20th? I think it's the Wednesday right of Comic-Con of San Diego. Is actually a kind of a social commentary on toxic fandom and toxic fandom gone too far. In this series, we have, like, a CW-esque superhero show that ends up getting, that the fans are hating on. They're like, oh, this show sucks because of this actress. We hate her, blah, 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 blah. The show's, it's not like the comics, whatever. It's too woke. And then she quits the show and the show gets canceled. And they're really pissed off that the show that they hate is getting canceled because the girl that they didn't want on the show is no longer on the show. Where have we heard this before? And so it follows, these guys trying to take their revenge into their own hands, for better or for worse. And it's a story that I'm, like, super, super passionate about, and I think is super relevant. It's written by Hannah Rose May, and this is her comic book writing debut, but she's an actress and writer in Hollywood. And we have Declan Shelby, Justin Mason, Triana Farrow, Haas Know-How on the team. And, like, it's, even if I wasn't working on it, which obviously I'm biased because I am, but, like, it's such a breath of fresh air, and super fun. And it's a short, quick 4-issue in and out thriller horror story that, if you like comics, if you like superheroes, if you like horror, like it's the perfect comic for you. So highly, highly, highly recommend it. Please check it out. Spread the word. And then Crashing is part of the IDW Originals line that just got announced. And so this is what I like to pitch as Gotham Central meets House. So it follows a specialist surgeon that can operate on powered people. She's one of the few people in the world who can do so. She also happens to be a recovering addict, and she gets caught in between the war of good and bad, and shenanigans ensue. And it is also a comic book writing debut from my good friend Matthew Klein, with art by Morgan Beam, colors also by Triona Farrell, actually, and lettered by Haas. There's some crossover there. So there you go.
You got to keep your friends working.
I do. It's true. You do have to. No, it's when you find reliable creators, you stick with them. So, but yeah, so that one comes out. It'll be out in time for New York Comic Con. So, definitely check it out. Pre-order. Give the creators a thumbs up on the internets, and hopefully you'll enjoy them.
Yeah,
definitely will. Before we have some listener questions. Before I get to that, though, on social media, you have a love for penguins.
I do,
and we were hoping that you could tell us a little bit about why.
Because I love them.
I gotta ask this: Are you a hockey fan by chance?
Oh, I don't like the Penguin hockey team.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
I don't like them.
I was just curious.
I'm from Michigan, so I'm Red Wings. So Red Wings, we do not like the Penguins.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, and the reason why I asked is because my brother-in-law loves the Pittsburgh Penguins because he loves penguins too. So I was just kind of curious if that was a similar experience for you as well too. But if you're from Michigan, I think it's required that you have to be a Detroit Red Wings fan. So I get that.
It's the number one question I get all the time. I'm like, oh, you like the Penguins? And I'm like, that is the one Penguins that I don't. Those are the ones that I vehemently do not like.
Yeah.
With a passion, it is in my DNA.
I live too far south to understand hockey.
We got the Dallas Stars there.
Yeah, but Stars.
See, I live outside of Houston. We're not allowed to like stuff from Dallas, and
okay.
This far south, the only thing we use ice for is tea. So it's like a rule. Like they would be like, "You're squandering our resources with your hockey game." But see, the Penguins thing is just like something that you like attached to.
Yeah.
Is it your spirit animal?
No.
Okay.
No. Louise from Bob Burgers is my spirit animal. But no, I just love penguins. I don't know. Like, they're just so cute and make me so happy. And they're the best in the world. It's like Kristen Bell with sloths. Like, I love.
Sean, do you have a favorite animal like that?
So much.
Honestly, sea turtles. I absolutely love sea turtles, especially the ones
they live forever.
Yeah, they live forever. And some of the ones that you see in the Caribbean are like huge, like they're bigger than me. I'm 6'6", by the way, Heather, in case you probably didn't know that, but like they're huge. And I just find them like just really fascinating just to kind of watch them swim around and just being all that. So yeah, for me, it's sea turtles. Like I just absolutely love sea turtles. So naturally, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one of my favorite fandoms that I like to be a part of as well too, for that reason. But yeah, for me, it's sea turtles.
And I'm 5'8", Heather.
The
because like we're just saying
don't
how
swim, Sean. They don't.
Yeah,
swim.
that's true, Sean.
Unless the sewers, do they swim in the sewers?
I mean, I know in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, they like floated when they were attacked by the Super Shredder there and all that. But I mean, I think
I really think it should be Teenage Mutant Ninja Tortoises. Like if you want to get down to it,
those are like those would be like army battle type of turtles you have, because their shells are just so husky, like they're so big and husky that's like galactic war that you would have to bring those in on.
Plus they'd be really slow, so their ninja skills would probably not be as great.
True.
Yeah. My animal, I have a toss up between pandas and koalas.
Okay.
Like bear adjacent, don't really do much besides sit around and eat all day.
The dream.
Yeah. Well, and then like Kung Fu Panda, especially because he's adopted like into a different family, and that's a bit of my story. Kung Fu Panda 3 is hard for me to watch because like he finds his real dad, and his real dad, like he's got two dads that love him, and I don't have the real dad that loves me, but the it speaks to me. Plus, they're so cuddly.
The internet will be your real dad.
Well, I mean, I have a dad. I mean, he's my dad. It's just like, he's a goose and I'm a panda. So, my real dad, I'm sorry, my dad, my adopted dad, my stepdad for the last 30 years, he's from Mexico. So like when we're together, he's like, this is my son. People are like, for real? And so like, we don't look like each other. And that's why it speaks to me. I should have clarified that. It makes more sense now. Sean, do you want to hit us with the listener questions?
Yeah. So we asked some of our listeners, if they have any questions for you, and we had Dan from TikTok said that he is very excited regarding the recent slate of new original series. And we know that you talked about a couple of them already, but he wants to know one that you are most excited for. And if it's one of the ones that we talked about, Crashing or Rogues Gallery, maybe there's another one that you're excited for that we could talk about here as well too.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about a book called Earth Divers.
Okay.
That I'm really, really, really excited about. It is so the story is Earth Divers unites 4 indigenous survivors in an apocalyptic future as they embark on a bloody one-way mission to save the world by killing Christopher Columbus.
That sounds
in the
good.
future, they kill Christopher Columbus in the future?
No, so they travel back in time to kill. So you have 4 Native Americans who go back in time to save the world by killing Christopher Columbus and prevent the creation of America.
That sounds dope.
Yeah.
And it's written by Stephen Graham Jones, who's a horror novelist and Native American. And it's being drawn by David Gianfelice, who is an Italian artist, which I just think is very and we need to get a Spaniard in there in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how, but yeah, so that's one. I think I can't remember what month exactly. It comes out this fall, but I'm really, 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 really excited about that one.
What's it called again?
Earth Divers.
Earth Divers.
That which is like 4 Native Americans going back in time to kill Christopher Columbus. Like, what more do you need? Oh, I think it comes out on Indigenous Peoples Day. I think they have it come out like that week. So
perfect. Yeah.
So yeah, highly, highly recommend that one.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you.
Well,
I mean, I love hearing about these because just like what you said, Heather, we grew up with, the big two putting out superhero comics all the time. And I'll say this for myself, I'm sure Kevin probably say the same thing as well too. But since we started doing the show, we've been talking to people on the show about their work, and they're doing really unique and different stories. That's not, superhero genre, but they're so good and so fascinating that's what I've been enjoying about doing this podcast show, is getting to know more about the different kinds of comics that are out there other than just a superheroes one. And this is just an example of like a fascinating story that makes a lot of sense and is really exciting to have in a comic book form. And I think, this is one of the things that I want to make sure that I tell people about is that, comic books, yes, there are the, traditional superheroes, but there are a lot of great stories that's being told in comics that you should check out. And they're very fascinating and very exciting. And our hope is just to be able to, kind of help spread that word and let people know that, so we talked about, there are comics for everybody out there. And this is just a great example of that. So I'm very excited about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would echo that sentiment. Like 3 years into this, I'm probably more likely to read something non-superhero at this point than I am the superhero stuff. And I still get excited for Marvel and DC superheroes and other stuff, but like I like I like good stories, and it doesn't matter like how that story is told. I like all sorts of genres. Horror comics still is a bit of a like, you know, like when you watch a movie and it's scary, you can close your eyes for a second and react. Like, man, you have to keep your eyes open to read the words on the page. And
you can throw it.
Yeah.
But like you have to see it, and when you're reading it, you have to see it in order to like get, like I know that thing jumped out of me at the movie theater, but like I don't need to.
So this is how I learned Kevin
different.
has not read a lot of my comics, because I do a lot of horror comics.
Yeah. I'm a scaredy cat. I'm a scaredy cat. Heather, when we have guests on the show, we started this a few years ago where we surprised somebody with a game, and that's because we were not as great about writing questions at the time, but it's become one of the things that we do, and it's become a lot of fun. So we thought that we would ask you if you wanted to play a game with us, and I hit up the Twitterverse for hashtag explain a plot badly. So what I want to do is I'm going to give you guys a plot of some sort of fandom, whether it be movie or comic or Saturday morning cartoon, and then see if you can guess it. And we'll keep score. I'll put you against Sean. Sounds good?
I'm so nervous.
Okay, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. I'll give you first crack at it. So you can guess. If you don't get this right, Sean can go. He can try to steal. Okay, there's 11 of these. It goes pretty fast, so it'll be over before you know it. Okay. The first one: an awkward love triangle between a teenage girl, a 100-year-old guy, and a dog.
I don't know.
I'll read it one more time. An awkward love triangle between a teenage girl, a 100-year-old guy, and a dog.
I'm
Sean, do you have a guess?
Pressure. I've got nothing.
Twilight.
It is Twilight. They're all going to make so much sense after the fact.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be so bad at this.
All right. Sean, I'll let you go first on this one because those are the rules, but you are winning 1-0.
Okay.
Crack military unit fights a group of bad guys made up of people from the goth metal punk rock scene who worship a snake.
Wait, say that again?
A crack military unit fights a group of bad guys made up of people from the goth metal punk rock scene who worship a snake.
Oh, I have no idea.
Heather, do you want to try to steal?
I don't know.
I don't.
Not my foray.
Okay, so that one is G.I. Joe.
Oh, I've never, I know nothing about G.I. Joe.
Okay, somebody's going to get this next one, I promise, okay? All right, a coming-of-age story about 4 teenage boys who play in the sewer.
Oh, is it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
It is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heather's on the board.
Yes.
All right, it's tied 1-1.
I only knew that because we talked about them so much in this. It was already on my brain.
Still counts.
It still counts.
All right, Sean, this is for you.
Mm-hmm.
A single mother must fight to protect her children from a group of violent invaders aboard an abandoned spaceship.
A what kind of mother?
A single mother must fight to protect her children from a group of violent invaders aboard an abandoned spaceship.
Oh my God. I have no idea.
Heather, you want to take a crack at it?
Say it one more time.
A single mother must fight to protect her children from a group of violent invaders aboard an abandoned spaceship. I'll give you guys a hint. The single mother is not the hero of the story.
No idea.
I don't know.
It's Aliens.
That's what I was like. It's either Aliens or Predator, but I couldn't. Which one?
You should have guessed it. It's Aliens.
I knew it was one of those.
Wait,
okay.
So Ripley's the single mother?
No, the
creature,
alien.
the alien.
Oh, okay.
That's why. But I couldn't remember which plot line is which movie is which.
I haven't watched Alien in such a long time that it didn't even register for me to think of it that way.
Sean, I'm gonna take when this comes out on video, I'm gonna take this portion and make it your reaction to that a GIF because the way that your face was like, it was classic. All right, Heather, this next one's for you.
Okay.
A diverse group of friends spend 9 hours returning jewelry.
That's my guess.
The blank look of confusion?
No,
okay.
That's my guess.
Okay, it is not.
No, damn.
What about you, Sean? You got a guess?
Diverse group of friends spend 9 hours returning jewelry. Spend 9 hours returning. Is that like Avengers Endgame or something like that? Like the Infinity Stones?
No, that is close though. It's a good guess.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
That's a good guess.
The 9 hours thing is what tripped me up. It's like that's a very specific number.
Yeah, but that movie was
okay. Well, you guys are on the right track. It's Lord of the Rings.
Oh, duh. Yep. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sean, this one's gonna go to you.
Oh my God.
A renowned loner learns to
all of this.
Sorry.
A renowned loner learns to love a girl without her magical Instagram filter.
A renowned loner?
Loner, like he lives alone.
Okay.
Learns to love a girl without her magical Instagram filter.
Oh, is this she's all that or he's all that?
That is incorrect.
Okay.
My brain immediately went to Shallow Hell, but I know it's not that.
No, this person lives alone in a swamp.
Oh, Shrek.
That's correct. That is correct. It is Shrek. Heather takes the lead 2-1.
You get 1.5.
Okay. She's ahead. She's ahead by a hair.
I'll be,
But also, that is bad because he didn't love her without the filter.
I was just gonna say full transparency. Like even with that hint, like I still had no idea. so
okay, that's right. I got it right away.
Yeah. You should get that.
Number 7 for Heather. A paranoid billionaire becomes increasingly obsessed with an immigrant.
Batman v Superman.
That is correct. That is correct.
I've never even seen that.
But the marketing worked then because you got it.
Yeah.
All right, Sean. You got to get this to stay in the game.
Okay.
All right. Cancer survivor loses his girlfriend, but never loses his sense of humor.
Loses his girlfriend, but never his sense of humor. Sense of humor. I have no idea. Nothing's coming up for me.
Is it that movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
No, that is a good guess, but no.
Okay, then I don't know.
It's Deadpool.
Oh.
Yeah. See, that makes sense afterwards, right?
Yeah, I think I was thinking like when I hear cancer survivor, I'm thinking like they beat cancer.
Because technically he didn't survive it. He still has.
Well, he's living with it.
Yeah.
Living with it and surviving are two different things.
No, I think surviving it is different than thriving with it. He's definitely.
This is so dark.
Yeah, because like that's how when people ask me how I'm doing, like that's my go-to thing.
Surviving,
like,
not thriving.
If I'm doing well, I'll say I'm thriving. If I'm not, I'll be like I'm surviving.
All right, that's fair.
Number 9 for Heather. Wisecracking boiler technician teaches high school kids to believe in their dreams.
Wisecracking boiler technician
teaches high school kids to believe in their dreams.
Of anything with a boiler technician.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sean, would you like to take a guess? Heather, you're big into horror. I would think that you would maybe know this.
Oh, one. Is this Nightmare on Elm Street?
That is correct. It is a Nightmare on Elm Street.
He is a boiler. There you go. Yeah. Yep.
I just like that he teaches high school kids to believe in their dreams.
But like as soon as he said horror, I got it. Okay.
That makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that one before.
Sean, here's one for you.
Yeah.
A beautiful princess gets magically catfished.
A beautiful princess gets magically catfished.
Mm-hmm. Do you need me to define catfish for you?
No.
Okay.
My losing streak is just continuing. Like nothing is just
like a real, like I can't emphasize how beautiful she is. Okay?
Yeah.
A beautiful princess gets magically catfished.
I mean, it's just like,
like you're gonna punch yourself.
I just keep thinking like Princess and the Frog or something like that.
That's a close guess. That's close. Yeah. You're gonna punch yourself in the face.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah. Is it Aladdin?
It is Aladdin.
Yes. I'm the champion.
That is true. Heather can't lose now, but I got one more. Let's just see if you can get it, Heather.
Okay. I'm not.
But a displaced teenager murders a woman of color for a pair of sparkling shoes.
Wizard of Oz.
That is correct. I thought about leading off with that one because I knew it would be an easy one to get, but I was like, that's really dark for the first one.
Yeah.
So let's end on how dark it is. Yeah. It's fine.
You did great. Both of you did fine. Heather, you take the championship on that one.
And Heather has been like our most enthusiastic winner as well too. Like when other people won, they're like, "Oh, that's great." You like did the arms up like
yes.
Yes.
I'm so high right now. I'm gonna go run a marathon.
We're going to get like an actual physical trophy and like send it to you now.
Yes.
Yeah. Or at least like a participation like a certificate.
So excited. Yeah. It'll be my new profile photo, just me and like.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I'm gonna make one tonight, and then I will post it on Twitter for you.
Perfect.
Like I'll tag you in Twitter. And like,
yes, I'm here for it.
Heather, thank you for joining us this evening. Before we let you go, let me start that over, Sean. You can edit it later.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the show with us today and sharing with us about your journey in comics. Before we let you go, can you tell our listeners where they can find you and your work online?
Yeah, pretty easy. You can find me at Heather Antos on all the things. That is just my name, HEATHERANTOS.
Awesome.
Well, that is going to wrap up another episode of The Captioned Life. We hope that you enjoyed listening. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button on whatever major podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow us on social media at Captioned Life. And if you like what we're doing, give us a shout out, tag us in a post. For more info about us and all of our previous episodes, please visit thecaptionedlife.com. Until next time, see ya.
Peace out.